back on a hump day. It is Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, and you are locked and loaded onto the hottest show in the streets, the best form of Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information you will find anywhere. You're live on In My Own Words, the podcast with yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, that being, of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And as always, each and every time we encourage you to drop that thumbs up, give a like on the show, and hit the subscribe button. That tells us at TDA to continue supplying you, providing you the best in news, notes, information, and content on your Crimson Tide. And as always, it's because of you, the fans, that we are over 8,000. That's right, over 8,000 subscribers strong on YouTube. So continue to help us grow, build the channel, network, and brand. Got a great segment or slate of topics for you on this evening. We'll start this off by Alabama making it official with Charlie Strong. He's here. Charlie Strong on the coaching staff as a defensive analyst. I'll dive into what an analyst actually does. Not a lot of people know what an analyst actually does. From there, we'll touch on what Charlie Strong looks to do in terms of helping out the linebackers, Dylan Moses, Joshua McMillan, Shane Lee, Christian Harris, the whole crew there. And from there, we'll look at some Heisman odds in terms of one Mac Jones. Can Mac Jones be the first quarterback in the history of Alabama football to win the Heisman Trophy? We'll dive into that as well. Also, your phone calls, thoughts, questions, and concerns. We'll get to all of that here on today's show. But to start off with a few slight updates here, Ryan Newman, the NASCAR driver that had the car crash at the Daytona 500, checked out of the hospital this morning. He was treated, checked out of the hospital, doing well. Happy to hear that from Ryan Newman. From there, Alabama football fans, set your calendars. The first day of spring ball, March 13th, Friday, March 13th, first day of spring football, and Steve Sarkisian, Alabama offensive coordinator, interviewed for the job at Colorado today. Will he take the job? Remains to be seen. But we dive into the first topic of conversation, that being one Charlie Strong. Crimson Tide made it official on Tuesday, bringing him in, hiring him onto the staff as a defensive analyst, a big deal. The 59-year-old of whom was offered the same position at the University of Florida under Dan Mullen, decides to turn that down and take to the Crimson Tide as an analyst. And I mentioned on a prior show that when somebody has been exposed to being a head coach or exposed to being a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, they don't really tend to backtrack and reach down to take an analyst job unless it's at one of the premier programs in college football. And when you look at the top three programs in the game right now, you would say Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, those three. So Charlie Strong agreeing to be the defensive analyst for the Crimson Tide. And for a lot of people out there, you don't quite understand what an analyst does. What's their role? What's their task? What makes them special in terms of particular programs. And I'm going to dive into what entails or what goes into being a defensive analyst. So first and foremost here for Charlie Strong, defensive analysts, they handle all the inventory behind the scenes. So what they do, they go through the paperwork, they check the analysis, they run the data, they kind of put together different tendencies, they watch a whole lot of film. They go in the film room, they break down film, they put clips together, and they try to figure out what are the tendencies of, different opponents? If this opponent likes to pass the ball more, if they like to run the ball more, do they like to throw different post patterns in these situations, different run plays in these situations? What are their favorite plays on third down? What's their favorite plays on first down, second down? What do they like to run in the red zone? It's the analyst's job to kind of watch the tape, study the game film, and kind of put together the different tendencies that the opposition does. And once those tendencies are put together, they go in the different meeting rooms whether it's different player personnel meeting rooms or the main coach's meeting room. They'll go in there, they'll sit down, they'll pitch suggestions, they'll put ideas up on the blackboard, and they may say, okay, guys, this particular team, 95% of the time, likes to run slant on first down. So since they like to run slant on first down, let's throw in this cover 1 or this cover 2 or cover 0 or what have you to offset that. Or if this team likes to go with not a lot of max protection on this particular down, I think we should blitz here. If we blitz here, come off the A gap, B gap, C gap, bang, we have a better chance of attacking their quarterback or attacking their running back or creating a negative play and or a turnover. So the defensive analysts, they handle a lot of the inventory. They run a lot of analysis. They take care of all of that data, and they put together kind of the different tendencies to where you can offset the opposing team and bring them into, well, bring the data, the information into the meeting room. When I look at analysts, either offensive or defensive, I kind of equate that role to executive producers in music, right? So in music, the song is the product. The song's the product. The song is the big deal, whether it's rap, R&B, gospel, whatever genre you're in, the song is the product. And then the face of that product, the song, is the actual recording artist. You have the producers that make the beats, but the executive producer, he's the guy, or that person is the individual behind the scene that makes sure that the lyrics are tight, the song flows, the beat is smooth, it catches the ear, and then it makes sure if there's a music video for this particular song, for this project, you got the fly honeys in the video, you've got the props that look good, everything is in order. Like, the executive producer's job is to make sure when this product hits the streets, it's a banger. I got a quadruple platinum sound here. I got a potential Grammy Award winning song / music video. That's the executive producer's job. They're making sure when this final product hits the stores, when this final product hits the television screen, we got the real deal thing. So when you look at this in the scope of Alabama football, the product is the Alabama defense, the players on the field. Those players, that's the product. The face of that product, of course, is Pete Golding. The guy behind the scenes doing his Dr. Dre thing, that would be Charlie Strong. He's making sure everything is in order, that this piece is in pocket, that piece is in pocket. We got this tendency right here to offset that offense. We got this tendency right here if they choose to switch something up. Charlie Strong is in the background putting all the pieces in play to make sure the Alabama defense runs like a well-oiled machine. And that's kind of what, an analyst does. And for a lot of people, you wonder at times when you look at Charlie Strong, you think, well, why would he kind of put himself in a situation to be a defensive analyst? He has more so of a highly profiled status than that. Why couldn't Alabama get him as a defensive coordinator? Or why couldn't Alabama get him as a on-field coach, a positional coach? Why does he have to be an analyst? That doesn't really make sense to me. In the end-all, be-all spectrum of things, the biggest thing is that Charlie Strong is here. That's the biggest thing. The most important thing, he's on staff, he's in the program, and he's helping the program be able to get back to being feared, get back to being dominant on defense. And I mentioned this before, Pete Golding is not the worst thing ever. I understand he's young. I understand, last year him calling the plays was a new thing for him, him being the primary play caller at the most pressurized program in college football. Alabama is the most pressurized program in the sport. When you do something at Alabama that's not at tip-top shape, it gets magnified times 100 because it's Alabama. So, yes, it was not the greatest showing from Pete Golding in year one, but there's the only place he can go from that is up, people. He's going to improve. He's going to get better. He's going to work his tail off. And what better way for him to work his tail off than to give him somebody like a Charlie Strong where he can sit down with Coach Strong. He can pull out a pen and paper. And I'm hoping that Pete Golding pulls out that pen and paper or pulls out that recorder or goes into a meeting room with Coach Strong and says, man, help me out here. How did you become so good calling defenses? How did you become a two-time national champion? How were you able to strategize so well? I'm new at this. I'm young at this. I haven't done this consistently in a big-time Power 5 college football program known as Alabama. You were able to do it, Charlie, in a Power 5 program known as the Florida Gators. I get it. It was back in 2006. I get it. It was back in 2008. But, Charlie, you showed us young cats how to get it done. So, Charlie, teach me. What do I need to do to improve, to get better in this phase of the ball game? And I'm pretty sure Pete Gold is having a pen and paper, having that recorder right now, learning from Charlie Strong, because Pete has value. He has value. He has potential. He has the means to get better and take that next step. He just needs to have that guidance and that person to kind of show him what it takes to have the confidence to structure a defense, or have the wherewithal, the knowledge to know when do I do this, or when do I go into coverage, or when do I blitz, or when do I stack the box up against the run, or when do I substitute correctly. And having a guy behind the scenes like a Charlie Strong helps out well with that. So for people out there that just had some issues or a lack of understanding on what an analyst is, no, the analysts do not handle the coffee runs. No, the analysts are not in charge of picking up Nick Saban's dry cleaning. No, the analysts are not in charge of making sure Nick Saban's Mercedes gets washed every day. No, the analyst's job is not making sure that Miss Terry, picks up the grandchildren from school. That's not what the analyst's job entails. I know what you're thinking. You thought the analyst's job was making sure when, Coach Saban takes the freshman players or the upperclassmen on his boat every summer, that the analyst has to put the gas in the boat. No, that is not their job. The job of a defensive analyst or an offensive analyst or an analyst in general, you are watching a ton of film. You are breaking down that film. You are putting together data analytics from the film to help out your team in ways to where you can offset the opposition. And you are bringing that film, or you are bringing the information to the player meetings, to the coaches meetings, to the team meetings, and you are setting up the information on a board to figure out how can we make this team more productive, more efficient, more effective. So that's what a defensive analyst does. Kind of like I mentioned, like a Dr. Dre behind the scenes, making sure that music product is on the up and up. And something that a lot of people don't know is two of the more coveted positions at the University of Alabama, graduate assistants and analysts. Put a little wrinkle in your brain there. A lot of y'all thought that the most coveted spots on the Crimson Tide's coaching staff would be the coordinator positions or the position coach spots. No, most of the times, the people that get called up to big-time roles from Alabama, from Nick Saban's staff, just so happen to be graduate assistants and analysts. It's the big-time, coaching roles out there that pick up the phone and go, hey, Nick Saban, I see you got this nice young man as a GA on your staff. Tell me about him. What makes him pop? What makes him special? What makes the young man tick? What makes him unique? I would love to have that brother on my staff. Hey, tell him, hey, if you want to move up to the east side and get you that piece of the pie like the Jeffersons, hey, we got you right here. Or he'll do the same thing for the analysts. Hey, Nick, that analyst you got on staff, man, I love that guy. He helping out your defense. How has he made your defense so good? Tell him to pick up the phone, baby. I'm right here. Have him come over here. We'll interview him. and bring that analyst right on in here. So the analyst and the GA's coveted positions. But Charlie Strong at the University of Alabama, it's been made official, was made official via ESPN as of Tuesday. He is with the program. But we take our first break here on In My Own Words, the podcast. Don't touch that dial, people. When we get back, we go to your phone calls right after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Back into the conversation here on a Wednesday, In My Own Words, the podcast. Yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And it's time for you guys, time for the fans. Let y'all voices be heard. 205-448-1358. Once again, the number 205-448-1358 to be a part of the show. You can also tweet with that. You can also text with that number, and leave a voicemail with that number. If Twitter is your thing, you can tweet the show at In My Own Words TDA on Twitter, at In My Own Words TDA. You can also tweet me directly at Coaching M. Smith. But we got our first caller in the queue. You are live on In My Own Words. What's on your mind tonight?
Nothing much, Steve. Just got a question for you. This is Lionel, by the way.
L-Bug! What's up?
Same old, man. So, in a nutshell, being an offensive analyst pretty much means that you're going to be a head coach somewhere else, right?
Say it again.
Being an offensive analyst, defensive analyst pretty much means you're going to be a head coach somewhere else eventually, right?
Eventually, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was just thinking, all right, so either two things are going to happen. One, they're going to fire DC, put him in. Two, he's going to go be a head coach somewhere. Not really, much that's going to happen there. But I don't know anybody who just signs on to be a defensive analyst full-time forever. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, the main thing is going to be, of course, the fans are going to be watching Pete Golding more so like a hawk this season, just due to you're going to have a healthy roster, a lot of talent back on the roster, so there's no excuse. So with the slightest struggle that Pete Golding has, fans are going to say, Nick, Coach Saban, we do have this Charlie Strong guy here. Can we please just slap the analyst tag off of him and just slide him on the field to run this defense? So
pretty much.
People are going to have a close eye on Pete Golding this season. They're going to have a close eye on Golden. But appreciate you calling the show, Lionel. Keep listening to us, man.
Yeah, no problem. And go Rams. You know the rest.
My man Lionel calling in from Indianapolis, homeboy right there, talking about Charlie Strong. We got another caller in the queue. This looks like Waylon. Waylon, what's going on? You're on In My Own Words, man.
What's going on? What's going on this Wednesday night, Stephen M.? What's happening?
Doing good, man. Hearing some crazy stuff about Steve Sarkisian. Hopefully it's not true.
I saw that. That's why I gave you a little buzz there. I was worried about it. I hope he stays with Alabama, but if he don't stay with Alabama this time, I don't think he'll ever be back. And you couldn't blame Alabama for not hiring him back. But of course, the man wants a head coaching job. So Colorado, I don't know what he would do at Colorado. What's at Colorado, Stephen? I don't know. Just Buffalo.
Let's see, Waylon. Free marijuana, the Colorado Rockies, the Denver Broncos, and the cast of the cartoon show South Park. That's about it.
Well, okay. Well, that sounds good to me. I can end the night on that, but we'll always end the night like this when I talk to you. I always say this: roses are red, violets are blue. Listen to the Touchdown Magazine podcast. Stephen M. always loves you. Catch you later, brother.
Appreciate it, Waylon. Waylon calling in there about Steve Sarkisian. I hope he doesn't go to Colorado. I know he interviewed for the job, but I hope he sticks around. But for right now, I'm going to go to the chat line here. You guys blowing up this chat line so far. Jeffrey Mills starts us off. Roll Tide from Columbia, South Carolina. What's going on, Jeffrey? Appreciate you calling in or listening to us from Columbia, South Carolina. Steve Green writes in with the RTR, or Roll Tide Roll. We got Teresa Redmond, Roll Tide from Houston, Texas. So Teresa Redmond coming in from Houston, Texas. We got the BG29ST, the BG29ST. You see, they say Sarkisian applied for the Colorado job. Yes, I saw it. Hopefully, he does not accept the job, take the job, because the cupboard is fully loaded here at Alabama. We got here LAW100442, writes in Roll Tide from Honolulu, Hawaii. So we got the Hawaii love coming in here. Raekwon Debnam writes in, happy birth. How about Steve Sarkisian looking for head coaching job in Colorado? Sarkisian did apply for the job. He did interview. Once again, really hope he does not take this job here, because I would much rather see Sark continue what he is doing at Alabama, especially with a Bryce Young here. Let's see here. Lionel Harris writes in, watching from Indianapolis. Stephen M. and I went to high school together. Yes, we did, Lionel. Francis Marion High School, home of the Running Rams. We did some volunteer coaching together. Happy you doing well, man. Marlon Joseph writes in, Roll Tide from Hollywood, California. We got the Hollywood side watching us, man. Marlon Joseph coming in from Hollywood, California. Appreciate you, Marlon. We got college football Jarrett at CFB Jarrett writing in from Houston, Texas. And before we continue with the comments from the chat line, we go back to the phone lines where we pick up another caller. You are live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen? Hey, I'm hearing the same things as everybody else with Steve Sarkisian with this Colorado job possibility. My question is if he ends up taking the job, who do we look to as the offensive coordinator? Because I don't really know off the top of my head who that next person would be. Like who would it be?
Well, right now the big name would be Hugh Freeze, who is at Liberty right now. Hugh Freeze, of whom when he was the head coach at Ole Miss, had success against Nick Saban, beating him twice in 2014. And in 2015, now, of course, there were some extracurricular things that went on in the life of Hugh Freeze, but in terms of just an offensive mind, the next guy that would be on Nick Saban's radar would be Hugh Freeze.
Well, I'm fine with that. It's just, that's not a definite. He's a head coach at Liberty. Why would he want to, come from being a head man to being the play caller? And that's not something that's a definite. Who on Alabama staff, our staff right now would be, the next man up?
Well, let's see here. The next man up to be the offensive play caller at Alabama. Well, you can look at, would you want to bring up, Holman Wiggins from being the wide receivers coach to be the offensive coordinator? Or would you want to bring up a Charles Huff, who's the running backs coach, to be the OC? I don't really like neither of those two options. And even though it's Liberty, you're the head man at Liberty. It's Liberty. I would rather be the OC at Alabama than the head man at Liberty any day. We have seen when you work with Nick Saban, your resume becomes Indeed.com, LinkedIn, and ZipRecruiter. You get pushed to the front of a table like a Pop-Tart. Bing! and the next big-time school is ready to offer you a head coaching job. So even though he is the head man at Liberty, I would rather be the OC at Alabama any day because you're going to get a better job than Liberty once you work with the man with the Midas touch known as Nick Saban.
Well, I get that. I mean, I think my only concern is he's already got the credentials. I mean, he was good head coach at Ole Miss, so big schools know what he can do. They're just probably a little afraid that he might start snooping around with some of the phone books and calling up these little escort services or whatever he was out there doing. I mean, that would be the only concern. I mean, but I don't know. I just want to make sure whoever is the next guy, if Sarkisian ends up leaving, that we have somebody that could fulfill that role. Because you don't really sound too confident about the other guys who's currently on Alabama's staff.
I look at it like this. Yes, what's his name? Yes, the guy, Hugh Freeze had issues. Hugh Freeze had a ton of issues that not going to go into. Definitely a great offensive mind, but had his issues. But what I'm saying here is, hopefully, when you look at Sarkisian, with the work that he put in to get a Bryce Young, that he would not leave all of that behind. If he does, one thing about Nick Saban is he has a board in his office with a list of 5 names on that board per each position because he's always looking to upgrade his staff. So we'll see what Nick Saban does. He always tends to be 1 to 2 steps ahead of the ball game. But we're going to go to another break here on the show. Upon us getting back, we dive into the conversation of what can Charlie Strong do with these inside linebackers. We'll be back right after this.
If you want delicious home-style cooking, sushi, and hibachi, check out Otoro Hibachi in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. At home and you can't get away from the TV because the Crimson Tide is about to score? Don't worry, delivery is also available through Waitr and Crimson2go. That's Otoro Hibachi in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And make sure you let them know the good folks at Touchdown Alabama sent you. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We're back in from the break on a Wednesday, on a hump day. In my own words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Hottest show on the streets. When you look at Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and we get back into Charlie Strong, but a different conversation. And with him being a defensive analyst, how will he be able to help? How will he be able to help the likes of Shane Lee, Christian Harris, Dylan Moses, Joshua McMillan, Alakaho, all of these inside linebackers on the roster? And just going back to a recent point that I mentioned, as the defensive analyst, you're going to be able to cut up some tape, watch some film, put together some tendencies. But what you also can do as a defensive analyst in terms of just certain positions, you can find ways to put together a system to help out a certain position. And when you look at, of course, Strong, he was or served as a linebackers coach for the University of Florida during his time from 2003 to 2009. He wore a lot of hats, one of those hats being a linebackers coach. So he would have a way to communicate or get the attention, as I should say, and get the most out of these inside linebackers. And he can do it in different ways. I mean, with a guy like a Dylan Moses, somebody of whom has playing experience, has leadership, has wisdom, has knowledge, he can probably just do little small tweaks to Dylan's game to take him from being an exceptional talent to take him from being a strong talent to being a, concrete first round, concrete top 5, top 10 talent. Just little small things. With a guy like a Joshua McMillan behind the scenes, Charlie Strong can do some things like, we know McMillan's a good player. We know he is a student of the game, very knowledgeable of the system, but we can tweak him and make him somebody that could be an absolute headhunter, that can absolutely knock somebody's block off, that can get into the backfield and be that guy to lead the team in tackles for loss from that weak side backer position. So just little small things to help the confidence of a Joshua McMillan. When you talk a Christian Harris, I can see Charlie Strong doing things like continuing to have him make sure he is hitting the right gaps, to make sure that he is breaking down on the right play, to make sure that he is not being overly reliant on his athleticism. Because while Christian Harris is an athletic guy and you want him to use that speed, use that quickness, but at the same time, use his instincts to know, okay, if I see here on 3rd down and 2 or on 3rd and 3, 3rd and short that I know they're going to run toss sweep off the right side, I got to be able to be in pocket the moment that ball is snapped. I'm exploding, right, between the center and the offense and the right guard, or the right guard and the right tackle. I'm hitting that gap right there to hit that running back, boom, and put him flat on his back. I'm not overly thinking it. I'm not overly relying on my athleticism, but I'm seeing the play. I'm zeroing in. I'm looking closely at that toss sweep, and the moment that ball is snapped, I'm attacking the play. So there's an area where Charlie Strong would help out the most with Christian Harris, continuing to help him build on that athleticism, but don't be overly reliant on it. Trust your instincts, see the play, attack the play. In terms of Shane Lee, what Charlie Strong would do for him, don't overthink so much, son. I know you're conscious. I know you want to make the right play. I know you want to be in the right area. I know you want to be a student of the game, but don't think so much. Don't wreck your brain. You see the play. You see it happening. Get to the football. Improve your speed and get to the football. Whether you have to improve your speed by dropping some weight or working on some agility drills or some footwork drills or whatever you have to work on, don't overthink it. Just get to the play. I feel like what Charlie Strong would do for Shane Lee is simplify the game more. Simplify the game more and have him not think as hard as he thought from time to time this past season. Because in 2019, I mean, let's be honest, I like Shane Lee. I think he's a very good player. I think he can be a very strong player. He's a high character guy. But there were just times where Shane Lee would be in the middle of the field going, am I sure I hit this gap? Do I supposed to hit that gap? What if I hit that gap and the other guy spins off? But don't overthink it. If you know this is your area, if you know this is your play, if you know this is your gap, read it, see it, fly in there like a bat out of heck, and just make the play. And I feel like that's what Charlie Strong would provide for Shane Lee. Son, just make the play. Don't think about it. Just make the play. That'd be for Shane Lee. In terms of Alakaho, what Charlie Strong could do for Alakaho behind the scenes is don't be overly emotional. And this is something that Nick Saban works so hard with his players. You play with emotion, but don't allow your emotions to overtake you. And I go back to when you look at don't allow your emotions to overtake you. Remember Ronnie Harrison? Yeah, defensive back Ronnie Harrison, who came out of Tallahassee, Florida, at safety to play at Alabama. I mean, Ronnie Harrison was a light you up safety. If you saw Ronnie Harrison in the street, you run the other way because you know you're about to get shot. So you don't play with Ronnie Harrison. But with Ronnie, he understood exactly what he was supposed to do, but at times he would get overly emotional, that his emotions would cause him to make negative plays. I remember one game, I believe it was against USC to start the 2016 season. Matter of fact, it was against USC to start the 2016 season. He got into a fight on the sidelines with Eddie Jackson. You don't get into a fight on the sidelines with Bo Jack. You don't do that, Ronnie. That's your brother. That's your teammate. What's going on? His emotions got so bad, he got into a fight with Eddie Jackson. So, you had that with Ronnie. Tony Brown at times would get overly emotional, and you had other players behind those two, but those two, the main two. And even at times, Nick Saban has had to share that message with Mac Jones. You make a bad play, you throw a pick, there's a turnover that ensues or a turnover that happens. Don't dwell on it. Shrug it off. Play the next play, because if you think about it too much, if you dwell on that too much, if your emotions become fixated on that, then a snowball effect happens, and you make bad play after bad play after bad play after bad play. You get what I'm saying, people. Don't be overly emotional. And there have been times in the career so far of Alakaho, he's been just a tad bit overly emotional. So that's where a Charlie Strong would come in. He would be like, look, son, I love how you're playing. I love the energy. I love the passion. I love how you just like to blow stuff up. You a dog. You don't care. You've got that mentality. But at the same time, son, be smart with it. Don't allow your emotions to get the best of you. So that's how he would help Alakaho. In terms of guys, when you look at Markel Benton or Jalen Moody, he would help those guys by just from behind the scenes encouraging them sternly, get a work ethic, guys, especially Markel Benton. I mean, there are just times where I feel like Markel Benton is just in Alabama for the free food. I just feel like Markel Benton is in Alabama for the food, for the parties, and for that tuition. Because Markel, for as talented as he is, this was somebody that was a top 12 linebacker on recruiting boards when he came to Alabama in the 2017 class. One of the top inside linebackers in the state of Alabama from Phoenix City. And I look at Markel, and for as gifted as he is, he goes through the motions. You watch him on the field and you're wondering, Markel, son, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what we are putting you on the field to do? You are in dime, you are in nickel. Do you have a firm understanding, Markel, of what we are asking you to do? If you don't, please let us know that we can put somebody in here that has an idea. Because sometimes Markel Benton does not have an idea. In the term, or when you flip toward Jalen Moody has a work ethic, but just continuing to push to get that out of him and encourage him to, keep battling and try to find his way on the roster in a linebacker spot. Well, in the linebacker role in the formation. And then, of course, with your freshman guys on defense, your DeMoy Kennedys, your Jackson Brattons of the world. If this is a Charlie Strong, would tell them, hey, guys, you're here now. Welcome to the world. You're no longer in high school anymore. Things ain't free. Everybody's a 5-star now. I mean, everybody's a 4 and 5 star. Everybody's a dog. Everybody is good. Everybody is exceptional. They're either on your same level or higher than you, and you got to show us that you deserve to be on the field. You got to show us that you deserve to be a starter. You got to show us that you are the real deal. So, and just being in an off-the-field role, Charlie Strong would make small tweaks to Dylan Moses, taking him from good to super extra-docious good and putting him in the NFL. He would take Joshua McMillan from being a good player to being just a straight dog on the field. He would take a Christian Harris and he would make him from being an athletic player to being an athletic, conscious, see the play, hit that gap, know what you're doing player. Shane Lee, a player that is conscious but don't think so much, just go out there, read and react to the play. Alakaho, young man, please don't be overly emotional. He would do that for him and just other guys on the roster. Find out where you fit in, compete, battle, do what you got to do to not only make the plays but enhance the football team. So from the outside looking in and kind of executive producer role, those are just some of the things I see that Charlie Strong would do to help out the guys, at linebacker be successful. But we're going to go to another break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. Continuing to move the car down the freeway in style. Upon our return, we dive into more of your phone calls, thoughts, questions, and concerns right after this.
T-Town Menswear in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We are back in from the break on the hottest show on the streets. In my own words, the podcast, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Just a little score update from Alabama men's basketball as it's taking on Texas A&M on this evening. 57-53 in favor of the Crimson Tide. The game right now in the second half, 57-53. In favor of the Tide, trying to keep those NCAA tournament hopes alive. But right now, your time again, folks, 205-448-1358. The number to call in, 205-448-1358 to be a part of the show. We dive back into our YouTube comments. We pick up Kelsey Shepard. Kelsey Shepard writes in, Roll Tide Roll from Montgomery, Alabama. Appreciate you, Kelsey, for listening in, tuning in to us. Willie351 writes in, Golding was calling defense at a little boys' school. Hopefully last year was just a learning curve. Think it was a learning curve. I believe that Pete Golding will be much better this season. Kelsey Shepard writes back in, different level of play calling now. Way different level. Bigger level. You're in the big leagues. In the words of Kevin Rudolph, welcome to the world. Welcome to the world there, Pete Golding. Got to get that job done this season. Larry Grace writes in with the Roll Tide. Waylon Colburn, our good man Waylon writes in, thank God for Charlie Strong. So Waylon, very happy to have Coach Strong in here. Gerald Baxter writes in, hello from Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, getting some love here. So Gerald Baxter writing in from Myrtle Beach. Anthony Jackson, or Antony Jackson, writes, Nick Saban Jr. writes in, freeze in terms of Hugh Freeze. Could Hugh Freeze come in to the University of Alabama as the offensive coordinator if Steve Sarkisian was to take the bait and go to Colorado? Please, God, don't let him take the bait, but we'll see what happens. Honcho Frito writes in, it's Liberty, LOL. Exactly, Honcho, it's Liberty. You come to Alabama, you're going to get a way better chance and a way better coaching job than Liberty. Ted Swain writes in, Jacksonville, Florida, checking in. Roll Tide. Appreciate you, Tez, writing in from Jacksonville. Willie351 writes in, I can rock with Hugh if Sark leaves. As long as Hugh ain't cheating in this recruiting, as long as Hugh ain't calling in them escorts, if you take Hugh's phone away from him the moment he touches down, then I'm okay with it. But we'll see what happens. Kelsey Shepard continuing, been looking for the next Rashawn Evans, Stephen, the next Rashawn Evans. The next Rashawn Evans, it could be Chris Braswell. It could be the likes of Drew Sanders. It could be Quandarius Robinson. It could be Will Anderson. There's a lot of guys that could be the next Rashawn Evans, but you know what? We're going to have to see. But good thought there, Kelsey. Anthony Jackson writes in, Shane Lee, too slow to play in the SEC. That's the reason why. If I'm Shane Lee, I would be dropping 5 to 10 pounds this summer. Because right now he's at, 246? I'll be dropping at least 10 pounds. Get yourself down to 236. Now, would him dropping 10 pounds help? Would him dropping 10 pounds change the course of his body and mess him up even more? I hope not, but the young man has to get faster, though, so I would agree with that. Waylon Colbert. Waylon, I think Hugh Freeze would be good. He's a strong offensive mind. He's got great tendencies. When he was at Ole Miss, we all saw what he did with Bo Wallace. I can't keep my hair out of my face, Bo Wallace. We saw what he did with Bo Wallace. We saw what he did with Chad Kelly. So we saw what he did with the receivers he had: Laquan Treadwell, Cody Core, Evan Ingram, Vince Sanders, Markel Pack, DeMaurier Stringfellow, the rest of the gang. We saw what he did with those guys. So in terms of running an offense, Hugh Freeze is a good one. But can we have his character be in check is the main thing here. Anthony Coker writes in, Bama defense will be on fire this season. Anthony, that's the hope for all of us, that Alabama's defense is on fire this season. Hancho Frito continues with, I believe Moses and McMillan will be on a mission to the last season. I believe so. McMillan got hurt in the August camp. But before we continue that, we actually have a call in queue right now. You are live on a Wednesday on In My Own Words.
So if you think that it's just him just interviewing, just try to boost up his credibility more to get a head coaching job, or and he might still say Alabama, or just want to get your thoughts on that. And Roll Tide, love the show. Thank you.
Appreciate Marty calling in with the question on Steve Sarkisian. He did apply for the interview with Colorado. And now, of course, I've heard that he's not the number one option Colorado wants. He's actually fourth or fifth down the line. But I can see him making the interview to beef up his pay or beef up his resume or to get a head coaching job. Sark has been known to want to get back to being a head guy in a program, but at the same time, you want to make the right move in terms of being a head guy. And I don't know what Colorado would have to offer him. I mean, the only Colorado player I can name right now is Antonio Alfano. And the only reason why I can name here, he was once at Alabama, should still be here, but chose to make the move to go to Colorado. That's the only one. And the Buffaloes, good, decent, somewhat program in the Pac-12, but at the same time, look at what you got at Alabama. You got Bryce Young here. You got a tremendous quarterback room, tremendous running back room, headlined by Najee Harris, tremendous wide receiver room, possibly a Joe Moore winning offensive line. Why would you leave that? You bolt if the cupboard is completely bare. You don't bolt when you have everything in the cupboard. That's just backwards, okay? You don't sit there and drop, a good woman for some random girl. No, you keep what you got. If you got the ace in the hole, if you got all the cards in the pocket, you keep all the cards in the pocket. So that's what I would do if I was Steve Sarkisian, but I'm not Coach Sark. I would hope he would stay at Alabama, but we'll see what's on his mind. But going back to the chat line here, Kelsey Shepard writes in, McMillan is a thumper. That he is. Comes out of Memphis, Tennessee. Boy is a hardcore player. Really cool, even keel type of personality McMillan is, but he wants to get back on the field. He wants to get back on the field and be a big star in the making. But we got another call in the queue here. You are live on In My Own Words, the podcast with your man, Stephen M. Smith. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Stephen? How's it going, buddy? I've actually been tuning in for about the last probably 6 or 7 months. Really enjoy it. I've lived out in Georgia my whole life and really haven't grown up around all that many Alabama fans, so to be able to get my fill is really quite a blessing every week, to be honest with you. I'm talking about Steve Sarkisian. I haven't been able to watch too much tonight. I actually just got out of church, but if I had to guess, I'd say probably the one thing that's really hampered Alabama here in the last few years would probably be their inability to maintain a coaching staff. I mean, what we say that, Alabama has this whole factor of, being the program that coaches want to be at, but, LSU's going through it this year, that they have more success on offense than really pretty much any team we've ever seen. And now they're looking at Joe Brady in Carolina, and they're looking at Dave Aranda, who's been one of the centerpieces to making their defense the force it's been the last 4 or 5 years. He's now out the door, and he's got a head coaching job himself. So now LSU's having to go through the same thing Alabama is and has been for the last 7, 8 years. You know, we didn't realize the blessing that we had with Kirby Smart being here for 8 years. And, you know, we had to experience 4 national championships with him. And, you know, looking back, I would say that the consistency that Clemson has been able to have on their coaching staff is really what has made them such a matchup nightmare for us in the last few meetings. And, you know, going forward, I'd really like to see Alabama keep coaches on for about 3 or 4 years to really establish themselves as a part of the Bama factor. I'd like to hear what you'd have to say on it.
I 100% agree on that. I mean, I appreciate the call. I agree on that. And hopefully, in terms of Nick Saban, he can work out something where he can keep these coaches longer than 1 to 2 to 3 years. But, man, we appreciate that phone call. But we're about to go to our next break here on In My Own Words. When we get back, we dive into some Heisman odds concerning Mac Jones. Mac Jones, high on the Heisman odds? You guessed it. That's correct. And we'll get to that on the other side of the break right after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We are back in from the break, people. Still moving it along on a hump day Wednesday. In My Own Words, the podcast, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine here with you. And we dropped this on down to, we got some Heisman odds from the good folks in Las Vegas. Heisman odds for the 2020 season. And it's never too late to talk college football. Never too late or too early to talk college football, especially when you look at the Heisman odds. And these came from, of course, our good friends at Waitr Talk. And one of the guys in the conversation for the odds for the Heisman just so happened to be Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. Mac Jones is in the Heisman odds, ladies and gentlemen. And what's crazy is, of all the quarterbacks that have come through the University of Alabama, and there's been a bunch of them, Bart Starr, Joe Namath, Ken Stabler, Walter Lewis, Jay Barker, John Parker Wilson, Stedman Shealy, just the list goes on. Of course, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Blake Sims, so many productive, record-setting national championship quarterbacks have come through this program. But of all of these guys, none have won the Heisman Trophy. None of them. And the only two that came close, you got to go back to 2013, where A.J. McCarron was the runner-up to the Heisman winner, that being Jameis Winston of Florida State. And then 2018, Tua Tagovailoa finished as the runner-up to the winner, that being Kyler Murray of the Oklahoma Sooners. And while a lot of fans, a lot of you feel like Bryce Young will be the guy to ultimately deliver Alabama its first ever Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, Mac Jones is the name that the folks in Vegas are having a little love affair with. Mac Jones is the name that is on these Heisman odds, and per WagerTalk.com, he has the 5th best odds to win the 2020 Heisman Trophy at 25-1. Now, the guys above him, you got Travis Etienne, the running back of Clemson, with odds of 20-1. You have the tandem of Sam Ehlinger of Texas and Jamie Newman, the graduate transfer from Wake Forest, who's now at Georgia, going to play quarterback this upcoming season. Both of those two quarterbacks with odds of 14-1. You have Spencer Rattler of the Oklahoma Sooners taking over for the departed Jalen Hurts. His odds are at 12-1. And then the leaders in the clubhouse, you have the tandem at quarterback, Justin Fields of Ohio State, and Trevor Lawrence of Clemson with odds of 4-1. So Mac Jones in that top 5 range with odds of 25-1. In terms of other Bama players, Najee Harris with odds of 40-1, and the duo of Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith at wide receiver, odds of 100-1. But just going back to Mac Jones, when people bring him up in conversations, the composition, the comparison, the comp that Mac Jones is given is A.J. McCarron. And they feel like his mannerisms resemble McCarron. His passing, his throwing resembles McCarron. The way he conducts himself resembles A.J. McCarron. And while A.J. was more cocky than Mac Jones, and he deserved to be cocky, A.J. deserved it. 2 national championships as a starting quarterback. He deserved every right to be cocky. But with Mac Jones, he's fully aware of who he is. It's more confidence. It's more the will to be driven in terms of Mac Jones, and the hatred to lose more so than the cockiness. But since people look at Mac Jones' ceiling being A.J. McCarron, going back to McCarron's 2013 season, he threw for 3,063 passing yards, 28 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And that year, Amari Cooper, who had a terrible toe problem, was not fully healthy throughout the entire season, kind of hobbled through the year, and then midway through the year, hobbled through the beginning of the year, and then midway through the year, got healthy and got better. But you had Cooper battling a toe problem, and then despite the fact that other guys were good on the roster with Kevin Norwood and DeAndre White and Christian Jones, especially Kevin Norwood, when you talk about him burning the LSU Tigers, aside from LSU, not a lot of opponents feared the supporting cast that A.J. McCarron had, aside from Amari Cooper. When you look at Mac Jones, people fear Devonta Smith. If they don't, give that man a wide open play and watch him burn you with a game-winning touchdown. Go talk for Georgia. Georgia act like they didn't fear him, and he burned them on 2nd and 26 in the title game. Mississippi State didn't fear him, and he burned them with a touchdown. And of course, the likes of LSU and Ole Miss did not fear him this past season, and he put up a 2-piece with fries and a drink on both of those two teams catching the football. So teams fear Smitty. You don't think teams fear Jalen Waddle? Give Waddle baby a 5 or 10-yard cushion and watch him split your defense like a block of wood and score off that thing. We're going to continue this conversation and wrap some things up on the other side of the break. You are listening to In My Own Words.
Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month, or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Before we put a pretty bow on today's show here, just a little update from Alabama men's basketball. Texas A&M found their way back in this game. The Aggies have a 68-62 lead over the Crimson Tide second half with under a minute to go. 68-62, Texas A&M over Alabama with under a minute to go in the second half. The Tide needs this game in terms of the NCAA tournament, but that's the update as of right now. But continuing the conversation on one Mac Jones. If you do not fear Jalen Waddle, as I mentioned, you give him a 5 to 10 yard cushion and watch this man split your defense in half and go coast to coast for a touchdown. So you got the two guys that people will fear in Waddle and Smitty in Mac Jones's corner. If not to mention, when you talk about the potential of somebody else rising from the group of Terrell Shavers, John Mechie, Xavier Williams, Slade Bolden, Jaleel Billingsley at tight end, or somebody in this 2020 freshman class that just came in here, you have the potential of having 1 to 2 of those guys emerge. So Mac Jones has got two guys that people fear as his main receivers. He's got the chance of having other guys emerge. He's got the guys at running back led by Najee Harris that's going to help him out, and a pretty stacked, solid offensive line that could potentially be a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. So kind of like in the same way Joe Burrow had all the pieces for LSU this past season in his Heisman winning season, Mac Jones has the pieces to win the Heisman Trophy, and he has the talent and the overall moxie and the charisma to win the Heisman Trophy. And then when you look at just Mac Jones individually, we're talking about somebody that played in 12 games a season ago, had 4 starts. In all 4 of his starts, he had at least 2 touchdown passes against Arkansas, Western Carolina, Auburn, and Jim Harbaugh and khaki pants of Michigan. Mac Jones had at least 2 touchdown passes in all 4 of those games. So multi-touchdown performances in the games he started in. And in 4 of those starts, 2 of them, he put up 300-plus passing yards, 335 against Auburn, 327 against Michigan. Given the opportunity, Mac Jones can do some things. And I feel like Waitr talk is not out of bounds. Waitr talk is not out of sorts for having him with being in the top 5 of these early Heisman odds for the 2020 season. I truly believe Jones can get this done. And though when you talk to so many people, it's Bryce Young. No, it's Bryce Young. No, it's going to be Bryce Young. He will start in August. Like Bryce Young, love everything about the kid, character, demeanor, arm talent, the whole package. But you cannot put a price on experience. You cannot put a price on knowledge of the playbook. You cannot put a price on that team having your back. This team has Mac Jones's back. And it's not on some cute stuff, that they really have Mac Jones's back. Like, I got a chance to speak with Devontae Smith during the season. Smitty at 165 pounds. Smitty looked me dead in my face and said, I look at Mac Jones the same way I look at Tua Tagovailoa. That's what Devontae Smith told me. And when he said that, I knew right then and there, this team has got Mac Jones's back. And then Miller Forrestall comes up and he says, Mac loves being doubted. He appreciates being doubted. It's just something about people doubting Mac Jones that he goes Super Saiyan. So Mac Jones takes the doubt, he takes the disbelief, he takes the criticism, and he uses it as the utmost fuel. So could Mac Jones be the first quarterback in the history of Alabama football to win the Heisman Trophy? Waitr Talk loves him. The folks in Vegas are giving him pretty good odds. I like him personally. We shall see what happens, but his odds 25-1 in the top 5 in terms of the Heisman Trophy for 2020. Well, folks, as always, people, you want to have the best in coverage, news, notes, information on your Crimson Tide, being the envy of your friends. You download the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app, and you can get this from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you just so happen to have the Android phone. The podcast options, you can catch us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, Overcast.fm, iHeartRadio. We have you covered in all facets. If the good Lord sees fit, your boy, I will return on Friday, continuing the conversation on Crimson Tide football, and we actually may have a guest joining me as well. But as always, I leave you with this. You know what it is, husbands. Love them wives. Wives, do good about them husbands. Children, get that homework done. Still a school night. Get you them 3 hearty laughs a day. Those 3 hearty meals a day. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith. Peace. Spinning my own words.